Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 6 of the Harmonic Convergence 2020 event. Today's theme is living in reverence. Today's theme is so important and central to this event. So we're going to be talking about reverence itself and its meaning. What do we mean by reverence? As an atheist, for most of my adult life, reverence was one of those words that I was a little uncomfortable with because I associated reverence with religion and the dogmas of religion that turned me off over my life. And ultimately, as a young man, led me to atheism. There were many words that I became uncomfortable with because they were so tightly coupled with Christianity, and the Christianity I was raised in and I experienced ended up turning me off. I now appreciate that my experience as a young boy and seeing how religious beliefs changed the behaviors of those closest to me in ways that I was uncomfortable. I felt that it was locking them in to a type of prison that left them rigid or otherwise close-minded. And I felt that was the antithesis of the concept of religion and being close to a creator, if there was one. So as I grew up as a man searching for meaning in life and purpose, I had this atheistic philosophy that our lives were really very short, that I imagined that I had 80 years to 100 years tops to make a difference, a positive difference, and leave a legacy for myself. And so I wanted to make the most of my short life, and that's one of the reasons I was so ambitious as a young man and started these companies. And I was always busy, always in a hurry to achieve, because I wanted to be a great man and make the world a better place. And I didn't see that coming out of religion, at least not in my experience. But now, after 8 years almost with Tejbar and his teachings, I have a new perspective, a new reverence for life. So as we begin our meditation this morning, I'd like us to marinate in this sound called the hue, the creation, a song to the Creator, however you want to consider it. And if you're an atheist, may I ask that you simply be open-minded to the possibility that there is a cause, a source of creation from which we come collectively, and that it's important, whether you believe in God or not, to have reverence for the creation itself, because it's a miracle you're alive. It's a miracle that everything around us is alive, literally, from our dogs, our pets, to the plants, the mountains. Everything is alive, even the rocks and crystals that we come to connect to and bond to for whatever reason. We are going to have reverence as we do this for all things, because we should. It's the right thing to do. And with that perspective of reverence for all things, we can begin to lead a new life, one in which we are bonded and connected to all things and respect them and honor them. And with that as our foundation, as our philosophy moving forward, we can enter a new age together. So let's get comfortable. Let's do a cleansing breath. And I like to breathe in and then out through the mouth, in through the nose, and then we're going to sing the note Hu, the sound of creation itself, a song to the Creator, to have reverence for all that he or she or it or whatever it is that we are a part of. We're going to have reverence for that, and we give reverence through sing, through song, through love. Okay. Let's sit here for the next 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to just sit in silent contemplation. Just marinate in this feeling that we've created, this field around us that we've created with the song of God, the hue, the note of creation. Our body has been subjected to this frequency that we ourselves generated. So every molecule and atom has been affected by this short meditation when we sing this note. And there's a type of harmonic convergence taking place within us at the molecular level, all brought about by singing this note. And what you're feeling right now as we marinate in this harmony, this molecular harmony of which we are made. Let's just quiet the mind now. And enjoy it. let's start coming out of our silent contemplation. Just think about how you feel at this moment. For me, I feel very calm and centered and balanced and connected. I have a guest here who felt compelled to lay in my lap during a silent contemplation period, and this is a dear friend of mine's dog named Bodhi, and Bodhi is a Chihuahua, of course, and she is one of the many examples of life that exist in our world, but this incredible being is something unique, something to have reverence for sure. She brings so much support and love, unconditional love at that. And Bingo, my spirit guide dog who was brought to me by Creator at a key moment in my life. There's a backstory to Bingo that I'll share with you one day. But he's also an incredible example of a being that provides unconditional love, and because of that is a great teacher to me. Two great teachers here. I'm among incredible masters of unconditional love. And I've learned a lot and applied what I learned to my own life, and I'm better for it. And as a consequence, I have appreciated even more how changing our awareness of the subtle things around us, whether they're a pet or a flower or a tree or a bird, anything, even a crystal or a stone, a mountain, they're sacred things that we should have reverence for. And that is what's lacking in our world today, is a reverence for life and for the sacredness of beauty. And we see beauty all around us right here. You're looking at an incredible background that have the pleasure of introducing you to. These are the mountains of Ojai, the Topa Topa Mountains, as they're called by the Chumash people that once lived here. And they knew just how special this valley was. Did you know the Topa Topa Mountains are the only mountain range in all of North America that run east and west as opposed to north and south? And they create a small valley, the Ojai Valley, in which it's been celebrated in film. The famous film from the early 1900s, I'm not sure exactly what year the movie came out, but it's called Shangri-La, and it was literally shot here as the mythical place called Shangri-La. And so this is Shangri-La, literally, in film. And there are stores here in Ojai called Shangri-La. And the Rainbow Bridge is our grocery store. The Hip Vegan is a vegan restaurant right here in town that I go to often. So this place is special, and all you have to do is spend a day in Ojai and you'll get it. It's a small community. It's a small town about an hour and a half northwest of Los Angeles, and people from the LA area come here for vacations because it's so special. And it's a place where they can get away from that frenetic energy that is Los Angeles and drop into nature, because we have the Hohai Valley Nature Conservatory, where there are thousands of acres of untouched property that have hiking trails and biking trails all the way up to the mountains behind me. You can hike up to the very top of the peaks, and from there look around and see the ocean and of course the valley. You can see for dozens of miles. It's incredible to go up there and realize from that perspective how small the world is, because it looks like the ocean's right there, that you could throw a stone in it. And on the other side of the mountain range, you could throw a stone and hit downtown Ojai. It's an important perspective. So as we think about reverence for life, let's think about changing our awareness and taking time to appreciate nature and the things that are sacred about it and what it provides us in our daily lives. There's a technique called grounding that it involves simply touching the earth with your body, just grounding, literally. And there's scientific evidence that suggests that by doing this, you are getting rid of extra electrons that oxidize the body and cause things like inflammation, which isn't good. So by grounding every once in a while, that's why I walk around with bare feet as much as possible. And I will often, when I find an inviting patch of grass or weeds even, I'll take off my shirt, and if I'm in a private space, I'll take off my pants. And just in my underwear, I'll lay down in that patch of grass or weeds with Bingo. He digs it. You can see he's grounding right now. He gets it. And through that, after 20 minutes, I feel refreshed, like I took a nap or got some rest, some serious sleep. I call it a power grounding nap. And it's funny, power and grounding have this association with electricity. And we are beings of electricity. We talk about the field around us, which indeed exists. This is not debatable. We now can measure a field about us. And that's an electrostatic field that we emanate. And we're learning now that this field can be used by healers, by Reiki healers, to measure or identify where we might be out of balance. And they work with us energy-wise. There's a man named Eric Pearl who does something called the reconnection. I've personally had a session with one of his students, and his name's Marco, and he lives here in LA, a beautiful human being from, of all places, Milan. And after meeting Eric Pearl in Italy at a conference, he decided to quit his job as a biologist, a bioengineer actually. He was formally trained in the university, got a degree in bioengineering, worked for a large bioengineering company, and while working there, he was talked into going to an Eric Pearl presentation, and then witnessed and then himself experienced the reconnection in which Eric Pearl does his energy work. I've had this done myself a number of times, and it's amazing. I sat there on the table, closed my eyes, and I just felt. And he didn't touch me, he just used his hands, and he was able to locate areas of my body that needed some focus, some work. And he was the channel through which he was able to identify and then work on an area of my body that needed some energy. And as I laid there with my eyes closed, because I was a little skeptical, I'd never experienced this before, I was thinking and feeling my body. And I was saying, where would I guess he's got his hands over? And I'm saying, I definitely feel something happening in my left leg. My knee, he's working on my knee. I open my eyes, and sure enough, he's standing on the right side of my body, not touching me. He had been moving all over my body, and now he was focused on my knee, which coincidentally was something that I broke in a terrible skiing accident back in 2008. It was so severe that I was told by the doctors after my surgery that I might have a limp for the rest of my life. And I was devastated by this news because I was a dancer. I was in love with ballroom dancing. And, oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong about that. As a consequence, I went to rehab. And after 6 months of intense rehab on my knee, I decided to take up ballroom dancing as a way to strengthen my knee. And that led to my hobby of amateur ballroom dancing. And I eventually became a champion. And I was worried that that knee would, that damage would lead to a limp. But lucky for me, because I worked so diligently on healing that knee in rehab, I didn't have a limp. And in fact, I took up ballroom dancing as a competitive sport. And I thrived in that environment. I met incredible people that I fell in love with. I fell in love with the art of dancing. And through it, I celebrated my day. And it opened up a new world to me. And what does this have to do with reverence? Well, we shouldn't just have reverence for our four-legged friends, our winged friends, the friends in the ocean with fins, our little bug friends, because they're all family. But our body is our friend, something we should have reverence for. So it's important to take that approach of paying attention to what we eat. That's a way that we can actualize reverence for our body, because this is made of molecules and bone and fats that lubricate the joint, tendons, muscles, protein that our body uses, the cell uses what we eat to regenerate all cells in all parts of our body to keep it optimized and in balance and healthy. And if we're eating bad food, we're not having reverence for our body. So this is another way that we can have reverence. So I have here a list of things that I want to share with you about reverence in particular. Words that I associate with reverence: sacredness. All these things I'm speaking of are sacred. Life itself is sacred. It's a miracle that you are watching this. It's a miracle that I'm sitting here in Ojai, California, and through this technology network we call the internet, you can watch me as though you're looking at me through a window and hear what I have to say. What an incredible miracle that is. Think about that. Just 50 years ago, this wasn't possible. We live in a new time. Things are accelerating very quickly. All of our technologies have come so far in such a short time. Cell phones, Wi-Fi networks, and the amount of data that goes through them that allow us to do new things, provide a platform or a conduit for new forms of communication. I anticipate, and in fact it's already happening, that there's a new form of entertainment in which you can be sitting in the comfort of your house, put on 3D glasses like Oculus Rift glasses, and participate in a group gathering. For instance, to watch a concert, to watch a live performance in Vegas, Cirque du Soleil, for instance. Incredible, acrobats and dancers and that just do the most amazing things. They are miracles. The things they do blow you away. And that you now can have access to that in 3D virtual reality from the comfort of your home or your car or in nature. You could be out in the Ojai Valley here with your Oculus Rift glasses, sit down, ground in nature, and participate in a virtual experience that's thousands of miles away or in another country. Think about the possibilities. How much fun is this going to be? It's amazing. I'm so excited. We have such a bright future ahead of us. We just have to give peace a chance. Can we do that together? Give peace a chance. And love is the key to our future. Love is greater than everything. I'm going to repeat that. Love is greater than everything. Love is the answer, my friends. We need to lead with our hearts. The pharaohs and the gods before them, they were telling us this thousands of years ago. All the people that they gathered in to build some of the most important ancient civilizations in our human history on this planet. They were already telling us back then, this is ancient wisdom. I'm bringing it to you. Check it out. Every single statue in Egypt that I came across, and I saw many thousands of statues of the pharaohs and of the gods, whether they be Osiris, whether they be Kesmet, Isis, all of them lead with the left foot forward. And that was a message encoded in these statues telling us, lead with your heart. These gods who weren't really gods, and the pharaohs after them that honored these gods, they always led with their heart. That's what made them great. King Tut, I have seen at the Cairo Museum all the incredible art associated with King Tut. His sarcophagus, the main one that we all have seen in picture form, and that sarcophagus was put into another box, and that box 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 was put into another box. And all these boxes were made of gold. What is up with that? What would compel a civilization and all its members to do such a thing? That's a huge question. that I pursued? And I know the answer now. And I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to leave that for another day. All I want to tell you is that this was a man who was loved and revered by everyone. And he was a real man, and he was a boy. He was a boy. What's up with that? He didn't even have time to go out and preach and proselytize or otherwise inspire thousands of people. There was no internet back then. How did he have such influence on the people that loved him? How is that possible? Well, something was at work there, a type of science, a spiritual science. And as a spiritual scientist, I'm going to teach it to you. But that's for another time. This is all about the harmonic convergence right now. This is about July 14th, first contact. So I have some surprises today that I want to share with you. Number one, that later this evening, after the final program is over at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be doing an after party hosted by an organization by Peter and Dana. I'm sorry that I'm at the moment forgetting, but we will be broadcasting that, or I will be announcing that on social media, on my Facebook page, that I'll be participating in this after party, and we're going to begin doing the CE6. So the title of this segment every morning has been CE6 Meditation. And CE6 by definition is initiating global contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. That's our goal. That's going to happen on the early morning of July 14th at 3:33 in the morning. And that literally is at the time Eastern and every other time zone through the Americas. So at 3:33 it's going to happen in New York City. But it'll be 12:33 in California, and we're going to be participating online with them. And they're going to see something amazing in the sky. And we'll be able to watch it with them. And then at 3:33 Central Time in Chicago, those people, something amazing is going to happen in the sky for them at 3:33. It'll be 1:33 in California, and we'll be watching from here what's happening there. And then Mountain Time at 3:33, and it'll be 2:33. We're going to be up with you in Mountain Time. And then at 3:33 California or Pacific Time, the miracle will happen here. So it's going to be like a wave effect. And I want to say something about this. The reason why 3:33 was selected was because there's something magical about that number one. There was a famous quote by Nikola Tesla, one of my favorites. It is my favorite. He said, "To understand the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9 is to understand one of the keys to the universe." And he was so right. But nobody really understands what he meant. At least I have gone online, I've watched videos, I've listened to people talk about the numerology connections with language and Hebrew and all that, and that's great. And it's absolutely true, but it's not what Tesla was talking about. Tesla was talking about the 3, 6, and 9 as if they were sentient beings. Think about that. That's a really tough thing to compute, to wrap your head around. How can a number be a sentient being? Well, Tesla, it turned out, if you read his biographies, there are a number of famous authors who have written about him. They talked about his eccentricities. He had this habit that was very odd. For instance, he would only check into a hotel room that had either the 3, 6, and or 9 as its number. He would not take any other hotel room. He, before entering a building, would walk around that building 3, 6, or 9 times before going inside. What is up with that? This man was clearly a genius. The answer is that the 3 and the 6 and the 9 are literally beings. And he was simply paying homage to them in a way that was anonymous. He didn't want to let in on his secret because people would really think he was crazy if he told them the truth. Imagine Tesla saying to an interview, a journalist interviewing him, yeah, the reason I check into the hotel room with only a 3, 6, and or 9 is because I believe they're alive. I believe they're conscious beings, and I'm just acknowledging them. This is my way of showing reverence to them. They would have laughed him out of the room. He would have been called the crackpot. So he kept quiet about it. I learned at the behest of Tejbar about sacred geometry and numerology. And in that research, I discovered a man named Marco Rodin and vortex-based mathematics. And I encourage you to study the sacred geometry that comes out of it, something specifically referred to as the fingerprint of God. Now, Marco Rodin was a Baha'i, and there aren't many Baha'i in the world, relatively speaking, but they have an amazing temple in Chicago, and their mother temple is in, of all places, Haifa, Israel. Now get this, the Baha'i faith is a relatively new religion that was created in the 18th century. And they have a symbol of their following, their main symbol is a 9-pointed star. And Marco Rodin was raised in the Baha'i faith. And when he woke up from a dream at the age of 16, he yells out very excitedly, I understand, I understand. And he begins feverishly writing down what he's just dreamt about. And from that, he gave birth to a branch of math called vortex-based mathematics. And I discovered vortex-based mathematics with the help of Tejbar. He told me to study numerology and sacred geometry, and that's how I came across vortex-based mathematics and the fingerprint of God, and I began doing exercises, watching videos. And what I learned is that when applied, this math created things like over-unity coils, these devices that with the right circuitry can create more energy than they consume. Now think about that. A device that is solid state, meaning it has no moving parts, but you just simply wind a coil in a specific geometry, plug it into circuitry, and specifically that circuitry is called the Joule thief, and then you power it from some power source. It could be a 9-volt battery, it could be a windmill, it could be a solar panel, and it will amplify the energy, literally. And that's what we mean by over-unity. It's creating more energy than it's consuming. Now, most traditional scientists and electricians will tell you that's impossible. You can't break the second law of thermodynamics that says you can't get something for nothing. But somehow we seem to be doing it. And I proved this in my home when I built a Rodin coil and later what I like to refer to as a Randy's donut coil. Randy Powell, a very dear friend of mine who I met in 2013 in Borrego Springs, he happened to show up at the event I had planned to come out of the closet and for the first time share my full story of Tejbar. on the anniversary of our meeting, of our communion. And that video is still online on my personal YouTube channel. And I did not invite Randy. He just showed up. I had never spoken to him, but Randy, it turned out, was a student of Marco Rodin's. And he was introduced to Marco through a friend of his in college who said, "Hey, Randy, I met a man who knows the 100th name of God spoken about in the Quran." And in the Quran that Randy had read in college while studying religious studies, he became obsessed, you could say, with learning all the 99 names of God mentioned in the Quran. And it says in there, if you discover all 99 names of God in the Quran, you will be given the 100th and most sacred name of God. And Marco Rodin claimed to know this name. And so Randy, after years of finishing his religious studies, is waiting for the moment of receiving this 100th name of God somehow. He gets the call from his college roommate. And his roommate says, "Randy, you gotta meet this guy, Marco Rodin." So Randy gets his number, calls him up, and he says, "What is the 100th name of God?" And Marco Rodin says, "I can't tell you unless you come to California and study with me." So Randy dropped what he was doing. He flew from North Carolina, where he lived, to San Diego, where Marco lived. And for a number of months, Randy lived with Marco Rodin, studied vortex-based mathematics, and discovered, because Randy's so brilliant, discovered something new that Marco Rodin himself did not know. And that is that there was a new dimension in vortex-based mathematics. So we're going to talk more about that. And now I just want to invite you to join me in the after party later today. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Enjoy the content and the wonderful people that are going to be talking today. Namaste.